When we speak about the role of religion in society, perhaps one way to start it would be with the term of populism. Populism is a concept that is not strictly related to religion and religious studies, but the important trait, important core of populism is that it stands the concept of one unified, homogeneous nation over against another nation or people that is seen as alien, as hostile, as antagonistic and threatening the very existence of our people, so that division between us and them is very important. And this is very often thematized in terms of nationality, ethnicity, culture, but also religion. And here we are asking ourselves what the role of religion in society is. Recent sociological research shows that there are by and large three main groups of people who somehow relate to religion regardless of their affiliation with faith communities. That's an important trait, but I will get to that. So the first is a group of people who see religion as cultural heritage, as legacy, as a museum, as a reservoir of values as they have it, or artifacts that are important to strengthen our own identity. And this does not necessarily have to do anything with belonging to a faith community or active practice of religious life. And sociological research suggests that very often this kind of people are ones who are prone to populist, extremist, right-wing movements. Another group is people for whom religion, the content of religion and content of faith is important as well. That they actively participate in practice of religious life and are influenced by the doctrines, by the content as well. And again, research shows that these kind of people and their participation in religious life can serve as an immunizing factor against ethnocentrism and populism and hostility towards the other. There is also a third group of people who relate to religion or religiosity somehow, and that's religiosity that is not necessarily related to any particular tradition. It's a vague, kind of amorphous kind of religiosity that is not rooted in a particular tradition. And the sociological research suggests very interesting results here, that for some people, some of these institutionally non-affiliated religionists, they can tend toward more progressive values and openness and tolerance and respect for the other. That's one group, but also there is a strong group of people for whom this vague, unspecified type of religion means a way to strengthen their own identity. For example, the idea of God as a male monarch is suggested here, that serve as a basis for a given order and hierarchy of things in society. So this subgroup of the third group becomes really close with that cultural religion that is sometimes called also surrogate religion, or in particular Christian context it is called Christianism, sometimes as opposed to a Christian faith. Living in a Central European context, one as a theologian can observe many interesting things with regard to religion, and it is interesting to observe that countries of Central European countries, despite their common past in many respects, that they differ significantly with regard to the role of religion and religiosity in a society. So if we take the example of so-called Visegrad 4 countries, that is the Czech Republic, Poland, Hungary and Slovakia, we see significant differences. Well, perhaps with a bit of oversimplification, one can say that the Czech Republic differs from those other three countries in regard that the level of those people who profess to be believers, who somehow relate to religion, whether organized or non-organized, is significantly lower than in the case of Poland, Slovakia and Hungary. This leads to interesting results when we speak about the relation of religion and society, or religion and political life, with especially Hungary and Poland, but to a significant degree also Slovakia. For politicians, it is of much interest to win over the members of the churches, and they strive to make alliances with the church representatives to get more votes, to put it simply. In the Czech Republic, there are some attempts like that, but to a lesser degree. What was interesting in the case of the Czech Republic was when we go back to 2015, 2016 with the so-called Syrian refugee crisis, that back then, even in a more secularized Czech context, some politicians starting speaking about European values, or in particular Christian values, even though they themselves did not see necessarily as, or did not necessarily identify as Christians. For them, that appeal to Christian values was that way to distance themselves over against the religious other, which was by and large Muslim other. So to show that there was an easy way, appeal to Christian values was an easy way to show that we Europeans differ from those Muslims, and Christianity just served in this scenario. Addressing the other is the main challenge here, and the main task, I would say, for Christians and for the theologians in particular. Learning how to live with the other in many different respects. It doesn't only have to be religious other, but cultural, ethnic, sexual other, national other as well. That's a major challenge, and that's also a way how to become immune against political instrumentalization of religion. For me as a Christian, it is important to be rooted in a gospel story, which with its many fuzzy edges and sharp edges and many questions that it poses, it serves for me as a means how to learn how to live with the other. So being rooted in biblical stories, taking them seriously, that's one way of how to become immune. And embracing that otherness without turning it to sameness, that's important. Not to try to turn the other people into the same as I am. Embrace the otherness, learn from it, but retain it at the same time. That's a major challenge, and that's also a way, I think, for Christians how to build resilience in the public sphere, in political life, so that religion can contribute as an immunizing factor against misuse and against instrumentalization.